This is Stephen Tobolowsky, and you're listening to Fascination Street podcast. Bing! You win!
Yeah! AV in your ears. That's Ambush Being, giving you this audio visual down the most interesting street in the world. With my boy Steve, Fascination Street. You already know. Let's get it. When you whip in the Fascination Street, what do you...
Welcome back, Streetwalkers. This episode is with Alessandra Williams. Alessandra is an actress, a writer, a director, and a painter, and we get into a bunch of those things in this episode. We talk about everything from growing up in New Jersey in the Red Bank area and why I love Red Bank so much, to how she got into acting, some of her first roles. I mean, hello. She moonwalked into an audition for a Bollywood film and she got it. What? That story alone is worth this listen. We also talk about some of the projects that she was in, including Spencer Confidential, directed by Peter Berg, and Mile 22, also directed by Peter Berg. She is friends with him and has worked with him a bunch. She shares some cool stories about Peter Berg. And then I share a story about a dear departed friend who is a previous guest of this show who wrote a book that he wanted Peter Berg to direct. Alessandra is also a painter. So we talk about why she paints, what she paints, and how often she paints. And then we talk about why she got into writing. She writes pilots. She writes reality shows. She writes short films. She writes all the things. She writes feature films. And of course, she didn't write this one or direct it, but she is co-starring in it. Blowing Up Tubi is her film Lissa's Trip, where she plays two roles, and one of them is so weird, I'm not even going to tell you about it. It is trippy. And of course, she is a member of the Actors Studio, so I wanted to talk about how she became a member and what that was like and why it was important for her to do. So we talk about all of that. I'm definitely going to have her back on. Alessandra has so much more in the works to talk about next time. And this is my conversation with actress, writer, director, painter, and now streetwalker, Alessandra Williams.
Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated. Prepare to be fascinated.
Welcome to Fascination Street Podcast, Alessandra Williams. How you doing today?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I can't complain. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Alessandra Williams. She is an actor and a writer and a director, and we're going to get to all the things. But first, Alessandra, what I like to do is I like to start from the beginning. It helps us understand how the guests got from where they were to where they are. So where were you born and raised? Where'd you grow up?
I actually grew up in New Jersey and eventually New York City.
Where at in New Jersey?
We were kind of all over the place. My parents were very young parents, obviously still very young parents. So they were like teenagers when they had my sister, and then very young 20s when they had me. So we moved all over, like Middletown, Red Bank area, like the Highlands by the beach and the shore of New Jersey.
Gotcha.
We lived there because my father had his company in New York City, and it was an easy commute, and my mother refused to live in New York City. So we were out there. But eventually, my dad did get a place in the city, and so we kind of split our time at some point.
Gotcha. Been to Red Bank 3 or 4 or 5 times or something. There's a director named Kevin Smith who's from that area, and he had or still has a comic book store on Broad Street in Red Bank.
Yeah, I've seen it. I've been in there.
Yeah. And those dudes over there that work there, they have a podcast that's real popular and blah, blah, blah. And some of them are friends, and it doesn't matter. Yeah. So I've been to Red Bank a few times. I love Red Bank.
Oh, yeah. It's such a lovely place.
It's really, really sweet and quaint.
Right on the river.
We stayed at the Molly Pitcher Inn one time, which is like some old famous inn right on the water. It was so pretty. And it was like, I don't know, December or January or something. And so maybe February. But like I had woke up one morning and my wife was still asleep, and I went out, and off the back, there's like docks or whatever. And everything was just covered in snow and ice, and the sun was just coming up, and it was so pretty. Like I couldn't take enough pictures. It was just gorgeous.
Yeah. In the winter, it gets really Christmassy.
It does. We've been to New York a few times, and like you guys, when you were younger, We would stay in New Jersey and then just drive in or take the train to New York because it's crazy expensive there. And so that said,
Right.
my favorite pizza in New York is actually in New Jersey. That's the best pizza I've ever had. It's in Rahway, New Jersey.
Oh, really?
It's the best pizza. Where's the best pizza for your money in that area?
In the city here, I'm really addicted right now to this Serafina pizza because they make it with buffalo mozzarella and I don't really eat a lot of like cow dairy. So it's really good. But if you're like a regular pizza eater, I would say Joe's Pizza in the West Village.
Oh, sweet. You're in New York now?
I'm here currently, yeah.
And is that where you live? Is that where you call home?
I live here. I go home here. I grew up here. I live here. I moved to Los Angeles and was back and forth from there for like a decade. But New York has always been home.
Oh, nice.
And I'm really happy to be here right now because the energy is so electric. There's so much going on in the city. I live in a townhouse, so it's very like house vibes in the city. It just doesn't feel like New York City so much. It's just like a really quiet neighborhood.
So you're actually in the city? Like, are you in Manhattan or where are you?
I'm in Manhattan. Yeah, on the Upper West Side.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, right where I grew up.
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
So what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be an actor. I always wanted to be an actor.
Always?
Always. I started making films and stuff with like my home video camera when I was like 4 to 6 years old with my dad and my family. Like we had so much fun. We were just fooling around, obviously, but that's where it started. And then when I saw the Titanic, I was like, I want to be an actor and do what they do. And I was also obsessed with the show Friends. It was like I was growing up and those shows were coming out every week. And I remember I would just like watch it on repeat and like absorb all of the comedy and the sitcom material. And I think it like brainwashed me into like being a comedic actor because I never had really any comedy chops. But when I started acting, I would do all different kinds of roles, serious roles and comedic roles. And I swear something about watching Friends every day when I was a little kid, like made my comic timing come to life. But I was really into just becoming an actor when I was about 8 years old. I went into theater camp. And then when I was a young teen, I was a gymnast, right? So I did gymnastics and cheerleading, like competitive cheerleading, like bring it on style. And we were very serious. And I was so used to being in front of huge cheering crowds and like performing, and that you would practice until the day. And then the day you go. You can't hesitate. And that kind of like dedication, I feel really kind of parlayed into becoming an actor because I wanted to do it. I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to get into it. How would I find these opportunities? And eventually, when I finished doing like all of the gymnastics and physical acrobatics, I really realized that my body was taking quite a beating. And I thought it was a good time to transition over. And my family was really supportive because I was always super theatrical at home and like put on shows for everybody all the time. Like I would just like come out dancing like Michael Jackson number.
Okay, go ahead. Do it.
I can't do it now. I don't know what I would do. I have to prepare for something like that. I mean, I could definitely do a moonwalk right now, but I don't have a lot of space on the floor.
Oh, nice. Well, listeners, she's been moonwalking this whole time for the people who are listening and can't see. So what did your parents do? You said that you didn't really know how to get into, acting or the industry. So what was it that your parents did? Yeah,
my mother was in advertising and she's an artist. Like she was a poet and a painter, writer. And my father's a musician. He's like a rock and roll musician.
Is that his shirt?
I know, it totally could be his shirt. Definitely influenced by him. He was playing the Guns N' Roses when I was a kid. But he had a company in the city that was like a graphic design company for high-end cosmetics like L'Oreal and Kiehl, Victoria's Secret, different like high-end brands. And they did all the packaging and stuff. So they weren't really in the industry of what I was wanting to do. Even though he was a musician, it was very different. And his like focus was more about his business at that time. Now it's more music. But I definitely was like a lone soldier, like a black sheep of my family. Everyone else was kind of like, doesn't want to public speak, is a little shy. My sister is a nurse. My mom was doing simple jobs. And I was like, I want to get out there and do everything. And I think I was like, got that gymnastics thrill in me that I was really searching for after gymnastics when I was like, I can't do this anymore. I was like, well, what am I going to do now with my time? So I was like, this is what I've always wanted to do. I'm going to give it a shot. And my dad was like, yes, do it. I actually met this guy at a lunch that my father had, like a business lunch. And I just happened to go when I was like a little teenager. And they're all asking me, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I was like, well, I want to start now and I want to act. And they were all like, oh, that's crazy. Like, that's too hard. And I was like, I don't think so. I think I could do it. And then the one guy, he was like, my cousin is the head of house productions or like one of the head casting directors over there. And you should meet with her. Her name is Brooke Thomas. So I met with her and told her what I wanted to do. And she gave me like a roadmap. She was amazing. She like changed my life because she showed me how to do it. And I set up meetings with all of the acting coaches she had suggested. And I went to the headshot photographer that she suggested, and I made the profiles for the casting networks and like the Actors Access and all those things. I just started like self-submitting with my headshots and getting like little jobs in small commercials and like student films and stuff. And so I was like just doing that and getting some experience and learning what it is. I did a little extra work in the very beginning on like Gossip Girl or something. And I got to see the set and see how things worked. And I was like, okay, like I can do this. And then I met this manager at like a casting workshop, which I don't always love those, but they worked for me because I always ended up getting connections through them. And this manager, she was like, you're so lovely and so natural. I think you should. I did like a fake Maybelline commercial for her. She's like, I think I have this audition for you tomorrow for this commercial. And you would be playing this cheerleader. And I was like, done. Like, I'm going to get it. And I got it. And I got 3 of them in a row. The first 3 auditions with an actual manager, and I booked all of them.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, you're just made for this. I'm like, I know. I got so lucky that my first 3 auditions were all for the role of a cheerleader. That was my whole life, cheerleading and gymnastics. So it was like just slipped right in there. So I never really had this belief that it was hard and competitive. I just sort of was successful right away because that led to like bigger movies, bigger shows. And then I was like on the network shows and got like big agents, and it like all just one led to the next. And only until I moved to Los Angeles did I really understand like what it was to struggle as an actor and have to like have a lot of time go by between jobs and wonder like if you're ever going to get a job again. And it's like the worst feeling of being like, oh. But I always would say you're going to because you already have, like you always get a job. So there's no reason it's going to stop. Like you'll get it again, like time will tell. And I never really went that long without working, but a couple of months feels like a lot.
Nice. A lot of people who are creative like you, they do other creative things like artistry or anything like that. Are you an artist in any other fashion, like a fine artist or anything?
Yeah, I've been painting also since I'm a child, and I did a lot of really large paintings over the last like decade.
What do you paint?
The last series I did was all nature, like abstract flowers, floral sceneries. Prior to that, I painted pictures for my characters. So whatever character I would be working on, I would do a painting as the character. So it was like an exercise I would do to connect with them. So I have like a huge series of paintings that look like they're literally made by different people. It's so funny. And I'm like, well, it kind of is. I mean, they're all me, but it's like the focus was so different on each one of them. And eventually I was like, I should probably like stick with a style. So people are like, oh, that's her painting. And like, it's recognizable. So I was like, all right, well, I really like doing the flowers because it brings a lot of light into life and it's easy to place in a house, florals and stuff. So I was like, oh, just go with that.
So do you do like real big one flowers, kind of like Georgia O'Keeffe, or are you doing scenes like Monet or Manet?
More like scenes. More like abstract flowers, not like very exactly looking like a flower, more like using a lot of layers and a lot of thick paint to build the flowers.
So it has a depth to it.
Yeah, a lot of depth and like always like a medium close up on the flowers, like never like super tight on the flower and never really far away, just kind of like in the bushel, like halfway through the tree.
What's your favorite flower to paint?
I really love magnolias.
I have a magnolia tree in my front yard.
You do?
I
Oh, they're
do.
the best. They're so pretty.
They are.
But I love the big white fluffy leaves that they have with a little bit of pink and white in them. I think they're so pretty.
Oh, well, you made a good choice for that to be your favorite. What do you do with all your paintings?
Oh, well, I've done a show,
Like at a gallery?
like a big gallery show. Yeah, I've done one big one and then one smaller one. And then I just sort of sell them like to private buyers. I don't do it that often because it's not really a forefront of my like direction of what I do.
Sure.
My time is really taken up by being a filmmaker and maintaining my career in acting and stuff. The art is more of like a hobby that sometimes I sell some stuff and I like to donate it to charities and things like that.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors. Let's get back into it.
You come from a long line of, not related to you, but, actors and actresses, they just have so much creativity bursting out of all their pores that, like, when they're not acting, like Frank Sinatra, whenever he wasn't acting or making music, he would paint also. And he was a phenomenal painter, and there were some of the most beautiful things ever. And then, like, either a week or two ago, Martin Mull passed away, and he was a real big famous actor, and he was probably in his 80s or something. And again, late in life, he discovered that he could draw and he could paint, and he had these beautiful paintings. So I don't know, there's just something about you creative types that just have it pumping through your veins, and it just has to go somewhere.
Oh yeah, it's like very cathartic to do the work and to be focused on it. I also do a lot of writing. I write lots of different kinds of things like children's books, children's content, like animations, and then to like dark thriller movies, period piece movies, pilots. I really have run the gambit of writing. Every genre and type of medium I've written. That's really feels similar to painting for me because when I paint, it's almost like you see the white canvas or whatever your base is, and then you take the first color, and when it touches it, it's now different and changed. And it's like the second that happens, there's this like serotonin that goes off, I feel, and I have like this great feeling of satisfaction. I just want to keep going and seeing how it develops. And when I'm writing, it's the same thing where it's almost like a blank page. And then once you get a couple of words down, all of a sudden, like something's happening. And then you're building and building. And then when you actually can see those words being brought to life by actors, there's nothing like it. You're like, oh my God, like these people are committed to these scenes that were like created in my mind. And now like I'm seeing it played out in front of me. It's really satisfying.
Do you have enough time to do it? You seem pretty busy with all of your actual acting and your writing. Do you have enough time to paint, or even do you have enough time to write?
No, I write more than I paint because it's just me and my computer. And there's no mess. When I'm painting, I need more time and commitment. I haven't painted in like a year, I would say. Well, I would say December. So like 6 months it's been since I've painted. So I'm not doing it that often, but when I do it, I like get into a groove where I can't stop. And then when I like pack everything up and put it away for a little while, then I'm like, okay. And then I just like write and edit and make movies and stuff, go on my audition.
When did you decide to write? A lot of people get into acting and then they just act. They get behind the camera and they start directing, which you also do. But when did you decide to write, and how come?
I started writing probably when I was 19. I had a boyfriend for a very long time. We were together forever. He is in the industry and he's a really talented writer. I would tell him, oh, I have this idea and this idea. And he would sort of help me formulate my ideas and show me like how to write. We would just go through like old films and watch films and read scripts, and I would watch him write, and he would tell me all his like little tricks of the trade and where to cut and where to keep it going. And so I think I was really inspired by him, and I probably wrote my first pilot when I was 19. I never did anything with it. I still have it in the drawer.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I have a lot of them. I wrote every year since then. So I've been writing a long time. And a lot of stuff I wrote has been made or sold, or the idea was sold. And so that's encouraging.
How excited do you get when that happens? Like when you sell a script or an idea?
Oh, super excited. Like those are some of the best days ever. I always go and celebrate by getting some like oysters or something like that, or like going shopping and buying myself a gift. That's usually how I celebrate.
Nice. What's the last thing you sold?
The last thing I sold, well, I'm selling it right now and everything's going forward with it. And it's actually a reality show, which I mostly just came up with this concept for a reality show and told some friends, and they were like, you need to get that made. And so I'm like, yeah, why not? I'll just write the treatment and send it around. And so I started sending it to producers, and I signed with this company, Bungalow, and we are selling the show together. And I got the talent and I got the location, and I went and shot a pilot in the restaurant, and I shot everything. I directed it, I edited and got it out there to everyone. And we just got a great sponsor that came on board for like a lot of money. So they're putting the money into making the official pilot for airing. Mine was like a proof of concept.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's really exciting. I mean, it's definitely a creative process still, but it's not like the kind of creative process that I'm used to, because it's like it's more of a competition show, not a reality show. It's not like drama. So that's the last thing there. And then I had sold my first short film in 2016 after I finished making it. I sold a pilot that I wrote to like a production company in LA. They haven't made it yet, and I'm also selling right now the children's books that I've done. So this is the Sock Hop. This is just like a mock copy. It's going to be like obviously real binding. And this is the Bump in the Road. And then we have the Do-Over. So it's a series. I wrote all of these books, and this is like much more simpler writing, like there's not a whole lot.
Sure.
But got this amazing guy, Timur Bekmambetov. He's a great director to come on and be my partner on this one. And so we're working on selling it right now, but getting him to be partners was like half the battle, because now that he's on, it's like a little more kick.
Is Timur a partner in those children's books, or is he a partner in the reality series you were talking about?
The children's books.
The children's books. Oh, Lord.
Yeah. The reality shows with the Serafina guys.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you know Serafina, but it's a really big restaurant here in LA, in New York.
Gotcha.
They're spreading all over.
Oh, wow.
Really good, like Northern Italian cuisine. But I work on a lot of stuff with Timur. So we've been like working on building a TV company and film company and animation studio for many years now.
Sure. Wait a minute. Did you kind of get sort of your start doing a Bollywood thing? Did you do Bollywood?
Yes.
What?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, you got to tell me all about that. How does a little girl in New Jersey end up doing Bollywood movies or TV shows?
So random, right?
Yeah.
Well, at the time I was living in New York City, and I had that first manager, and she submitted me for this audition, and she was like, I have this audition for you for this project. And so I went in and I auditioned 3 times, and I just got that part. I really gave it my all. Like I came in dancing like Michael Jackson again. A lot of my childhood came out in my early career.
Did you really do that?
Yeah, I did. I brought a boom box with me with a iPod Shuffle, which was what was out at the time, and played You Rock My World by Michael Jackson. And there's this female dancer in that music video with Marlon Brando.
Mm-hmm.
I learned her whole dance, even though the character never dances in the film. You never see her dance, but she's Michael Jackson's backup dancer. So I was like, they have to believe that I'm his backup dancer. So I'm going to show them that I'm his backup dancer. And I came in and that was my third audition because I didn't get it after the first two. And I was like, okay, they're looking for something. What are they looking for that I'm not giving them? And I'm like, well, I'm going to just be a dancer now. And so I became like the dancer for them. And they cast me and I went to India and it was like my first really big movie.
Okay, I'm confused. So this Bollywood movie was about Michael Jackson?
No, it was about a con artist company, like a bunch of kids that just finished college in Mumbai and they're starting this rackety, rickety company that's doing all of these scams. They come to America and they go to Vegas and meet up with me, who's like Michael Jackson's backup dancer. So they go to his concert and they essentially bring me in to their company and I start like dating one of them. And then he becomes crazy alcoholic. I leave him for his friend. And then I end up getting their t-shirt that they created on Michael Jackson to wear on stage. So like he wears it on stage and he was supposed to originally be in the film, but he like literally passed away right when we started shooting.
He was going to be in it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was a really big movie. It was like Shahid Kapoor, who's like Brad Pitt of Mumbai in Bollywood, and Anushka Sharma and like other really great actors. And
I just wanted to see if you could say those because I couldn't say it. So
yeah.
I was wanting you to say those names.
It was Shahid Kapoor, Anushka, Parmeet Sethi was the director. He was like a really big like TV actor and he became a director. And then it was Yash Chopra was the producer.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, check you out. Aren't you fancy?
It was definitely a fancy experience.
This was when you were fairly new in the business?
Very new. Yeah, I had only done a couple things. And when I came back from that movie, I got signed by Innovative Artists. And that's really where my career took off. Like I got on all the shows on HBO and CBS and started booking like, series spots, like day player spots, under 5, and then like guest roles and then recurring roles. It just like kept going.
You've worked with a few different, I guess, agencies, but do you feel like the bigger the agency, the more opportunities that come your way?
Yeah, for sure. Anyone who says that it doesn't know. They always say, oh, you don't want to get lost in the sauce at a big agency where they focus on their big clients and not you.
That's what I've heard always. Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't really think that that's true. They're not going to hold on to you for that long unless they're trying to prevent you from working for some reason, but that's not common. I think that when a casting agent is looking to cast their film, they're always going to go with the bigger agency's submission first because they get leverage there. They leverage their clients. If they're like, oh, I really want CAA to like me and want to use me as their casting and give me their biggest A-list star, and I know that they have Alessandra, we're going to put her in this part. And so then they feel this sense of like camaraderie, and then that builds it up. So when you're in like a boutique small agency, you're really there because they couldn't find anybody in the bigger agencies to fill that spot. And so they start there and then they move down. Because a lot of times people like in a big agency won't do like a smaller role. So they'll start there. And if they don't get it filled, then they move to the second level agency and then the third level agency. So like every step down, I think that the opportunity becomes a little bit less. But it doesn't make it impossible because I've been at every kind of agent and I've always worked. It's really about just getting those casting directors to like you.
So it's the kind of thing where like they go to a big agency and they're like, look, we want Alessandra to be in this film. And then the agency's like, okay, look, you can have Alessandra, but you got to take Steve Owens too. Mm-hmm. You got to do them both.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll give you her, but you got to take this guy too.
Yes.
Find a role for that guy. Okay.
Yeah. It's leverage. That's what they use to like get all their clients working. So sometimes they'll take like one bigger name and then put like 4 or 5 like really great talented people that maybe aren't as big as the name in their roster. And so now they use everyone to build. So it's like a business, it's just a business.
Interesting. So go ahead and put that into your contract. They can have Alessandra, but they're going to have to take Steve too.
Okay, deal.
Hey, Streetwalkers, here's a word from our sponsors.
Introducing Loom Stupid, where fashion meets quirkiness. Whether you're looking for statement tees that spark conversations or funky pieces that add whimsy to your outfit, Loom Stupid has got you covered. Join the fashion revolution and express your unique style with Loom Stupid. Visit our exclusive website at www.loomstupid.com and discover a world of fashion that's brilliantly bizarre and undeniably chic. New designs are being added all the time. Loomstupid.com. Get your whimsy on with Loom Stupid. Because being silly is the new stylish.
Let's get back into it.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the stuff that you've been in. You have been in some things with some previous guests of mine, as a matter of fact.
Oh,
Spencer Confidential, you were in that with Mark Wahlberg, who's not a previous guest, but James Dumont.
yeah.
He's been on my show 2 or 3 times. I
Aw,
love that guy. He's great.
I love him too.
And then you were also in Mile 22, another Wahlberg film, but
Yeah.
the bad guy, Sam Medina, bad guy, he was on my
yeah.
show too.
Oh, wow. Lovely.
Those are some of the nicest people.
They are.
How did you come was it just auditioning that you came to be in these projects I mentioned?
Not really, actually. So Mile 22 sort of came out of the blue.
Now, that was supposed to be like a trilogy or something, wasn't it?
Mile 23, I think, was going to come next. Yeah. I'm not sure what happened with that.
I think that it probably didn't do as well as they had hoped. And so, but I think initially it was supposed to be a trilogy.
But it did. It grossed like 65 million in the box office.
Oh, snap. Well, then I don't know what happened. I'm going to blame Peter Berg.
Love Peter Berg. They all probably just got too busy making different movies. But essentially, Pete just has given me so much opportunity. And I met him through a friend, and we connected a lot on a creative level. He really respected that I was a member of the Actors Studio, which is a very hard place to get into. It's really something. I brought him and a couple of his friends as a guest to one of the plays we did there.
You brought Pete Berg as one of your guests?
Yeah.
Wow, look at you. That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had him do a lot of stuff. He also was like the lead actor in a film that I wrote. We did the table reading of it, and him and his entire production team came and he played the lead actor.
What is happening right now? How cool is that?
I know.
Wow.
I'm very lucky. It was very cool. And yeah, he's just like a real guy. Like, he just doesn't have any pretentious energy. He really respects people that work hard. I think that that's what stood out the most to him about me compared to other people maybe that he was meeting, is that he saw that I worked so hard, and he like always knew about the Actors Studio. Like, he told me, he was like, I've always been interested in like what goes on there. And I was like, well, I'll take you and show you. So shortly after that, he was like, do you want to be in Mile 22? And I was like, yeah.
I don't even know what that is, but the answer is yes.
I don't even know what I'm playing, but I'm on my way. And so they essentially brought me out to do Mile 22 and told me while I was there what I was going to play. They put me in like a U.S. Marine whole getup, and I had like a huge AK-47 and like all this gear on. And I'm like in the middle of Bogota, and I'm like, is this happening? How did I get here?
Was it actually filmed in Bogota?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That's so
it was
cool.
amazing. I was like eating the greatest Colombian food, and I just had such a good time. Like, that's some of my favorite stuff about being an actor has been traveling, because I've got to see a lot of the world that I probably wouldn't have like jumped to go see.
Yeah, like I don't know if Bogota is on too many people's bucket lists.
Right? Like Bogota, Mumbai, Thailand. I mean, maybe those places are according to what you're into.
Sure.
But yeah, it's not like your standard vacation spot.
That's really cool. Yeah, I can't remember the last time I heard somebody trying to decide where they were going on vacation and Bogota was on the list.
Right?
I mean, I'm sure it's beautiful.
It
but
is.
It's just, it doesn't seem to be forefront.
But, you know, it's a little dangerous. Like, we had to have bulletproof cars always. So the doors were so thick, and we had bodyguards everywhere we went. It definitely wasn't somewhere I think I could go alone.
Sure. God,
Yeah.
that sounds scary.
Yeah.
A friend of mine wrote a book about his life, like he wrote his own biography or whatever, because he was somewhat of a figure in athletics. He had a bunch of different pieces of athletics in his story. It doesn't really matter. He wrote this book and he wanted Pete Berg to direct the movie, but then he died.
Oh, no.
Not your friend Pete, but my friend Joe.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too, but it's a good book.
Is it still available?
Oh, of course it's available. Anyway, Pete Berg has come up a lot on this show, which is the only reason I even brought up that story.
Yeah.
It's because he is such a phenomenal director and he seems to be able to do all of the genres.
Yeah.
He's just amazing. But we're not here to talk about Pete. We're here to talk about you.
That's okay. I'm sure he'd be so happy to hear good things about him.
Okay, tell me about Green Cola.
Oh, Green Cola was my second film I wrote and directed. I did this not that long ago, and it's a comedy, like a satire mockumentary. It was the beginning of like a whole big project. So I essentially made this short film and it won every festival I put it into. Best film, best comedy, best this, that. And I was like, wow, people really like this. Let me make more. And so I wrote a whole feature out of it. And I have shot the next chapter, which is like another 20 minutes. And so I have like a third of the movie finished now with the shorts that I already made. It's like sits within the film at different parts. So I'm working on finishing the rest of that.
So kind of like how Sling Blade started off as just a short and then it was such a hit that they made into the big full feature. That's kind of what you did with, or what you're doing with Green Cola?
Yeah, totally. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
Well, check you out.
Yeah. A lot of times when you introduce all these characters in a show and they all gel well together, you want to know more about them.
Oh, for sure.
That's when you know this should be expanded because it's working. And like, I could see so many ways it can go, like all the potential. And that's when I know like it's time to keep going, keep writing.
Love it. Tell me about this upcoming drama, Lissa's Trip.
Lissa's Trip.
Damn it.
It's okay. So Lissa's Trip it's like a psychedelic story.
Oh, so it's a trip, like she's tripping.
Yeah, exactly. And she's going like on a trip, kind of like she's sort of meandering around all of the boroughs of Los Angeles, trying to get to Burbank for this audition that she has. And I play her best friend that she's staying with. And she accidentally takes acid at my house and then like tries to get out. I try to stop her from going to the audition because I think it's just going to be a total wreck. And she's like so adamant. So she goes, and it's sort of like Homer's Odyssey, which is like about wandering a bit. Just like loosely based on that. And she's sort of wandering and having all of these like existential crises and real life, like wake up moments, internal thinking and psychological breakthroughs and just all of this stuff because of the acid. I also play Millie the macaw in the movie, which is like sort of an apparition, like this cute little colorful macaw with all these colors.
So this is part of one of her trips where she's tripping and seeing things, and that's cool.
Yeah, kind of. And like the birds come in a lot of the time here and there to sort of like tell part of the story. So when I was preparing for that, I was researching these macaws and they were so beautiful. And I loved that they mate for life when they meet. And so they're always in a pair unless they haven't met their mate yet. And once they do, they never separate. And I thought, wow, that's so romantic. I'm going to make the bird like have a romantic tone to her voice and dreamy.
What is a romantic tone to a bird's voice? Hit it.
Kind of like a... I'm not going hard right now. Because a macaw, they cough. They go... like that.
Okay.
And they do it really loud. Like I was like bubbling my voice a lot and making her like a little British. She would talk like this. Everything was so soft. And it was like that. That's sort of how I played her.
This premieres on Tubi?
Yeah, June 20th it came out and it's doing amazing. So definitely go check it out. And give it a like if you can, because when we do independent films like this, these likes and these things, they really help the filmmakers.
Did you write this?
No, I was hired by the writer-director to do this one.
Okay, good. Because I was wondering if it was a sort of a true to life thing where you accidentally just left some acid laying around your house.
No, never.
That's crazy.
Unfortunately, not. But it sounds like fun.
Wow. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. How to Make It in America?
Yeah.
Gina Gershon's assistant?
Yeah.
Okay, what's she like?
Oh, she's nice. She's very serious sometimes.
Oh, she's nice.
No, she's very, you know what? I think that when I did that show, to be fair, she was the very seasoned actress at that time. So she's in the makeup trailer in the morning, like just waking up, like tired, not really wanting to be all energetic. And I was like new in the, this is my first big TV show with that show. And I'm on the set of HBO, and I go into makeup trailer the first day, and she's there. And I was like, hello, it's so happy to be here. And she was just like, what is this energy? So at first, that's why I was like, she's nice, but she is really nice, because at first, yeah, that was probably not the greatest first meeting. But then when we started shooting scenes together, we realized that we had the same acting coach, Sandra Seacat. Greta Seacat's her daughter, who I also work with later. But Sandra was amazing, and she worked with both of us before. So we had this like sort of understanding for the work together. I was actually only supposed to be on 2 episodes. And then Lev, he was one of the producers with Mark Wahlberg, and he really liked our camaraderie on set. He was like, you guys really balance each other out really well. We're going to write you into 6 more episodes.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, I ended up doing like the whole thing with her. So like she really was very nice, and we did really get on very well. It just didn't start off that way on the first day. She probably doesn't even remember. I'm sure she could care less. But I will not forget, because for me, it was a monumental moment. Like I was like, this is my first big show. Like I'm never going to forget this. So I remember every detail. But for her, it's probably like her 100th movie or show or whatever job. So it's just,
Sure.
We just had different perspectives we're coming from, I think.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
Also, you were in Paul, Apostle of Christ with Jim Caviezel.
Yeah, that was an amazing project.
Okay, help me out with this one. So I know that Jim Caviezel played Jesus in
Passion of the Christ.
Yeah, Passion of the Christ, but I didn't know that, I guess there was a part 2 or whatever with Paul.
This Paul one? No, so it's a totally different filmmaker and different story.
Does Jim Caviezel play Christ, or does he play Paul?
No, he doesn't play Paul either. He actually plays John the Baptist.
Oh my gosh, he's just going to play he's going down the whole list.
Yeah, he's amazing. At the time when he played Jesus Christ, after that, he had not done another biblical movie until our movie that we just did a couple years ago.
How many years ago?
4 years now. Time is flying.
Okay.
It feels like it was yesterday, but it was 4 years now, I think. So he was very in character. He was listening to beautiful music and preparing and doing such interesting work prior to his takes, which I understood, because coming from the training I do a lot of stuff like that too. So I really enjoyed working with him. And I really enjoyed when we weren't on set working, but we were hanging out and all going out to dinner together. I was also Joanne Wally and Olivier Martinez. But yeah, working with Jim was just great. He went to every church there. He was meeting with all of the bishops.
Where was it?
We shot the movie in Malta.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, again, somewhere I never would have gone, just to Malta randomly. I didn't even know Malta existed actually prior to this.
I think back in the early 80s, Robin Williams did a Popeye movie.
Oh, that totally sounds like it would be done there.
And I think that it cost so much to build the sets that they just kind of left them up. I think all of the Popeye sets are still up.
Cool.
And if I remember correctly, I think Shelley Duvall, who just died yesterday, I think she played Olive Oil in that movie.
Oh, she would have been the perfect Olive Oil. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure she did. Yeah, but there's I don't know, I want to say there's a statue of Popeye at Malta.
I'm sure.
It doesn't have any words. There's no explanation. There's just a statue of Popeye at Malta. Every time people find it, they're like, what the hell is this doing here? It's just out of the ordinary.
That's so random. I love that.
Tell me about the Actor Studio. How did you become part of the Actor Studio in both New York and Los Angeles?
Yeah, well, when you become a member, it is a bi-coastal thing.
Oh, well, so wait, are you a member of the Actor Studio in San Antonio, Texas?
That's not the same one.
There isn't one. I was just seeing if they were all over the place. I was just making stuff up.
No, just there's only LA and New York.
How did you get into that game? Because it's pretty impressive.
Thank you. It's my proudest thing I think I've ever accomplished.
I don't know. Moonwalking into an audition where you're going to do a Bollywood movie, that's pretty impressive too. I like that one.
That was definitely something. But I think the work I did to get into the studio was a lot harder. And it took many years.
Why was it so important for you to do that?
Well, when I started acting, I met a guy named Gary Swanson. He was a member of the Actors Studio, is currently, and he was one of Lee Strasberg's favorite students. And he got in with Mickey Rourke. They auditioned together to get in. And when I met him, I started studying the method with him, private one-on-one, 3 times a week. And then I would also, a 4th day of the week, go to his private classes. And so we were working on the sensory work and working on scene work and everything. And just learning the basics of the system created by Stanislavski and all of that. So we were getting into that. And that's where it all sort of came from. The Actors Studio was built after the group theater, which is Stanislavski was sort of showing the group theater, and they were testing all of the theories. And Lee Strasberg was there, and Kazan was there, and everyone went out to Russia to do this work and then bring it back to America. So when they brought it back, they built the Actors Studio, and it became a place where no industry professionals are allowed to go. So you can't have producers, directors, casting directors, public people coming in. It's only actors with actors, and make it extremely private and exclusive. And they do that so that you, as the actor, never feel like you have to perform for anybody, because you're never there to get a job. You're never there to impress the casting director. You're there amongst your peers, and it's your work is so pure coming from that place. You really learn who you are and what your instrument is in that type of environment. So that's why I think they kept it so exclusive. And also there's no money exchanged. So it's a completely nonprofit place. So the people that are there have to prove themselves to become a member, because they don't want someone just coming, auditioning, getting in, and then never showing up and never dedicating their time and just using it on their resume or something. So they really put you through this rigorous process over years of time to continue watching you grow and develop and see how dedicated you are. And if you're the right fit to be a member of the studio, if you're actually going to be bringing something to the studio, because we all give when we're there. We give to each other openly and freely and generously, and we share our work. And it's just this invaluable tool that I'm so lucky that I got in. I started coming back to how I got there. Gary Swanson, I was too young to audition at the time. I was a teenager. You have to be 18. I was under that. And he would bring me as his guest a couple times. You're allowed to bring a couple of guests a year if they're, an actor, and they have to show that they're an actor. And so I went as his guest a few times, and then they kind of bent the rules a little and let me come the whole year. And then at the end of the year, they're like, you can't come here anymore. And I'm like, but what? Why? How? And they said, you've come a lot more than we normally let people, and we like you a lot, but it's just, you have to audition. And I was like, okay, I'll audition, sign me up. I wasn't old enough. And then they were like, you come back in a year when you're old enough. And I was like, oh my God, this is just terrible. So I met with my friend's dad, who was on the board, and he was best friends and the manager of Al Pacino, who was the president. And I was like, can you ask Al Pacino to write me a recommendation letter to work at the studio? And they did. And so they hired me to work for free as an intern.
Wait, so Al wrote this letter?
Yeah.
Do you have a copy of that letter framed on your bedroom wall?
I don't even know if it exists.
What is wrong with you?
I was 17. This is a long time ago. I don't even have that computer. I mean, I might have it in my old computer in my storage somewhere.
Wow, that's amazing.
I know, but I wish I saved stuff like that. Back in the day when things like that were happening, I never thought too much about it. It just felt so normal to me, I think, because I was so naive at the time about how big that is. Like, I wasn't like running around like, guess what? Al Pacino's writing a letter. I was just like, oh, cool. Thanks. I'm glad he's doing that.
Well, I think that works to your benefit because if you had been consciously aware at the time of how big something like that would be, I don't know if you would have had the nerve to be like, hey, why don't you get that dude out or write me a letter?
Yeah, I agree. I think that it was really good because I wasn't thinking that, and it made those things possible for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like I even went to so many Academy Award winning like film premieres, and I was like working in shows and they would want me to walk on the red carpet and I'd be like, oh no, I wasn't in the movie. Like, I don't deserve, like, let the people who were in the movie do that. And I would stand off to the side always. And every time I did a show, I never did publicity. I never did anything. I just kept working. Only later in life was I like, wow, I really missed an opportunity to like get what I'm doing out there. Nobody told me that. Like, my agents never told me. I didn't just know on my own. So like only until later in life when I learned like, oh, you need to publicize the film now. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's new. I know. I was so focused on doing the art, you know. I really am such an artist and I care so much about the craft that's all that consumed my mind. And it was like anything I can do to just practice my craft, whether it's on set or here or there. Going to parties and premieres and stuff was like, I liked that because I liked seeing the film, but it wasn't like I was there because I was a good schmoozer. Like, I wasn't. I've never been a good schmoozer. I'm like too aware. I'm always self-aware of like, what am I saying and thoughts and self-conscious, I guess. But like when I'm my character, I'm not self-conscious at all. When I play the part, I'm like completely committed. So there's a freedom, I think, in that, which is partially what I like about acting.
Absolutely.
Releasing that energy. It's nice.
Well, that was a great story to go out on, to be sure. Alessandra, tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
My Instagram handle is at Taste the Vino, like Taste of the Rainbow, but Taste the Vino, like a sommelier or so. I used to want to be a sommelier, and then I can't change my name now on there, so it's fine. I got like verified years ago and they won't let me change it. So I'm just Taste the Vino forever, which is fine. I like it. I think it's a kitschy title. So you could find me there. I don't really use any other social media platforms, just that one. It's like all the bandwidth I have.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I put everything there. There's links there. There's like I did Maxim magazine. You could see it on there. There's a link to the magazine. There's links to other interviews and links to some of my films, my IMDb and all those things.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Everybody go check that out. And also, it came out back in June. It's on Tubi. It is called Lissa's Trip.
Yeah, I have a lot of things I'm working on every single day. So once everything wraps up pretty soon in the next few months, we'll have a lot more to talk about.
Cool. Let's do it again. We'll have you back on and promote some of the new stuff.
Yeah, I can't wait. Thank you.
I had a blast.
Me too.
Oh, that's good to hear. I like it when the guest has a good time as well.
Yeah, I don't always like to talk about myself, but it did feel good to reminisce a lot about those stories. So I really appreciate that.
Oh, good. Well, next time we'll reminisce about some other things and then we'll talk about all the new things.
Okay, great.
But until then, for this very first session, is there anything that I didn't ask you or we didn't talk about that you wanted to talk about today? Like, did we cover the things that were important for this time period?
Totally. Yeah, I think the Lissa's Trip thing is huge. Get people to go see that. I like talking about like the Actors Studio and some of like the early work because I think that could help young actors like get some insight. Yeah, I think it was good.
Fantastic. And we got to find out that Peter Berg is a nice guy.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
And that Gina Gershon she's nice. She's nice.
He's gonna hate me.
She's never gonna hear this.
Okay, thank God. Oh my God.
Alessandra Williams, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day and your hectic acting, writing, directing, painting schedule to hang out and let us get to know you a little bit better on Fascination Street. I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it too. So nice to meet you.
Oh, it was a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right. Well, you have a great rest of your week.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Alessandra. Bye, Vino.
Bye.
Opening music is the song FSP Theme, written, performed, and provided by Ambush Vin. Closing music is from the song Say My Name off the 2021 album Underdog Anthems, used with permission from Jax Hollow. If you like the show, tell a friend. Subscribe and rate and review the show on iTunes and wherever else you download podcasts. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. All the episodes are available there as well. Check me out on Vero at Fascination Street Pod and TikTok at Fascination Street Pod. And again, thanks for listening.